Regular City Commission meeting for Monday, June 6, 2022. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Bradford?
Here.
Commissioner King? Here. Commissioner McCool?
Excused.
Commissioner Ramos?
Present.
Commissioner Sosa?
Here.
Vice Mayor Villa-Vasquez?
Present.
Mayor Hersberg?
Here. So this evening, it's Commissioner McCool's evening to do the invocation and the pledge and so forth. So this evening, she has asked Pastor Bradley to come forth and do the invocation, and will be followed by the pledge led by Commissioner King, and then we will have the national anthem, and tonight it will be sung by David Castro, who's 12 years old and a 7th grader from Trinity. Pastor Bradley, thank you.
Our mayor, just continue, Lord, to strengthen her, God, and give her your peace and comfort with her great loss. And Lord, we pray you bless all the other commissioners, Lord, their family, just continue to prosper their way, oh God. Lord, we ask your blessings to be upon this meeting tonight, Lord, and we pray that things will be done decently in order, and things will be done also with a mutual respect. We pray for progress tonight, Lord. Lord, we also ask you to bless our community, Lord. We thank you, Lord, for our state champions that's here tonight. Just continue to bless them, Lord. And Father, we just pray you just continue to cover our community with your divine protection, your power, your peace, your provision, and prosperity. We thank you once again. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That was amazing, as usual, David. Thank you very much. Okay, we have our business meeting will begin. We have approval of the minutes of the regular commission meeting of May 16th, 2022 as presented.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner King. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ramos. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Motion passes 6-0. Now we'll go to the fun part of our evening, presentations, awards, and reports. So this evening, we're going to start out with a presentation of certificates of recognition to the Deltona High Lady Wolves softball team state champions. Commissioner... So commissioners, if we could all go down, and if the team could come on up, we'll go ahead and hand out your certificates.
Ladies are getting up here. So again, congratulations to our Deltona Lady Wolves. And let's hear it for them, please. Come on now. Woo! So the first state championship won in Deltona High School is a history, and the first softball team in Volusia County to pull off a state title. Talk about being pioneers. Awesome. Coach Ingram has been a teacher for Deltona High for 21 years and the head coach for 18 years. She has seen the playoffs 17 times. Within the tenure, the Wolves have been district runners-up 4 times, district champion 12 times, in the Sweet 16 7 times, and now regional final champions and state champions during this season. Coach Ingram also received her 300th win and boost of record of 306, 105, and 1. You go, Coach. So these students, athletes, truly amplify champions of character. They know how, they know and do the right thing inside and outside of the athletic setting. They embody the values in high school athletics. The softball parents are extremely dedicated, and congratulations to all of you who are here. In reference to the softball parents are extremely dedicated to the student athlete as well as putting in countless hours to support the girls. So congratulations to you guys as well. We're so proud of our Lady Wolves softball team and all of their accomplishments in this season. So, number 1, Emily. Number 2, Anna. Not here, we'll take it for her. Number 3, Veronica. If you ladies just turn around, one of the commissioners or the mayor will get you. Number 4, Jaylene. Number 5, Peyton. All the way over here. Number 6, Caitlin. All the way to the front. Not here. Number 7, Megan. Number 8, Kathy. Did I say that correct? Katie, sorry. Number 9, Morgan. 10, Kylene. 11, Zoe. 12, Molly. 13, Jalexis. All right. 14, Adriana. 15, Sophia. 16, Sophie. Did I get that right? 18, Rylan. And head coach Lindsay Ingram and assistant coaches Christine Raymer and Michelle Decker. So don't go nowhere. Where's your trophy? Let's get that trophy. I guess we can sneak in between them. Yeah, you guys are the champions.
No, that was great. Good. It was fun.
So I'm gonna go.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, that was fun, exciting, and what a great job by the Lady Wolves. We'll just wait another minute until everything clears out, and then we'll go ahead and continue on with our meeting. Next item on the agenda is item 6A, ordinances and public hearings. The public... 6A. Ordinance number 12-2022, moratorium on future land use map amendments and rezoning requests that result in an increase of single-family detached residential density entitlements at first reading. Mr. Paradise.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the commission. Kind of a tough act to follow there. She's got to talk about a moratorium. Ordinance number 12-2022 represents a proposed moratorium on increases of residential density beyond existing residential entitlements. The moratorium will only impact density increase requests that involve single-family detached dwellings. The moratorium is set to take effect on July 1, 2022, and sunset 6 months later, which will be at the beginning of 2022. The goal of the moratorium is to facilitate the city to engage in public scoping intended to be a foundation for changes to city policies and development regulations. Scoping topics are as follows, and they're certainly not limited to this list, is to promote more sustainable development patterns, promote more functional residential development forms, encourage greater land use compatibility, enhance environmental safeguards, improve general knowledge of the application of residential densities, and address general growth management and laws and policies. There may be some administrative exceptions for small-scale projects that are 20 units or less that don't involve environmentally sensitive areas, or if the residential element is part of a bona fide mixed-use development, or the project is associated with a significant portion of workforce housing. As you all remember, this effort is part of a commission-approved moratorium that was approved on March 25th, 2022, which was known as a legislation of progress, which established this moratorium. This moratorium is being fast-tracked. The next second final hearing will be on the 20th of this month. On May 18th, the Planning and Zoning Board heard this request and voted to recommend that the City Commission approve Ordinance 12-2022. Staff also recommends that the City Commission approve Ordinance 12-2022. I'll be happy to field any questions you all may have with regard to this request.
Thank you, Ron. Commissioner Bradford and then Commissioner Sosa.
Couple questions, Ron.
you're saying that there's 20 units or less that you guys can approve. Currently, if there's 20 units or less in these small subdivisions, do those go to the commission?
They will go to the commission as part of a rezoning request or a future land use element. Basically, that would establish a threshold for, I guess, a gatekeeper, if you will, that the city would have the option to, process that rezoning request, and it would be, decided by the Planning and Zoning Board and ultimately the city commission.
Okay, because what I was reading, it went to the Planning and Zoning Board, and they made the decision that it was not coming to the commission.
That was, the DRC is part of that process if it warrants, further going through the process further. Not the Planning and Zoning Board, the Development Review Committee.
Okay. And then there's also a note that says there are several single-family detached residential rezoning requests that will not be halted or delayed as a result. What are those?
The last one that we have, one was Lakeside Landings that we just heard here last month, and the next one that will be coming is Fernanda Phase 3.
Okay, those are the only two?
That's the only two, yeah, that I can recollect off the top of my head. I've got a pretty good handle on this.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yeah, I just have one question. There's only 2 projects. One's already been approved, and there's only one more coming before July 1st.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay. And on number 6, can you please define affordable working housing?
It's defined as 30% of the units are affordable to 80%, people that earn 80% of the AMI, area median income. And that's based on household size, and it varies.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and make a motion. I hereby move to adopt ordinance number 12-2022 at first reading and schedule a second and final hearing on June 20th, 2022. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Properly moved by Commissioner Sosa, and who did the second? Commissioner King? Seconded by Commissioner King. Okay, commissioners, do you have any more questions or comments? And if not, we will move to public comment. Who has signed up for public comment? Just read the names.
Albert Bryan, please.
Albert Bryan, Deltona. This has been a long time coming, but I have some reservations about this because of what time of year this is and what comes in November. I hope and I pray that this is not just fluff and puff, because if it is fluff and puff, it'll be said in November what we think about it. That being said, I'd like to make a couple points about this. One, I'd like to see city involvement help the citizens in this. When I say that, that means we be involved in how this is drafted before y'all vote actually on it. I think also that you need to have an outside lawyer that is in land use, somebody like, Mark Watts. Look at it. Because at the end of the day, he's going to have considerable amount of work with it one way or another, whether he's for it, against it, or otherwise. To have no voice in it at all from the outside, I think would do the city shame. I think by having city citizens involved in this, as well as somebody like Mark Watts, would serve the city very well. Now, that being said, I think the staff should actually put something forward and let us look at it. And then we can put our 2 cents into it and go from there. I think I have a lot of, how do I really want to say this? Because I don't want to overly state this. I have a lot of confidence, I guess, in city staff and how they work. But I also know as a citizen, I can only trust them as far as I can throw them. No offense, Mr. Paradise. But that's just the way it is. I mean, I can name dozens of citizens that have had issues over the years. So I think having citizens' involvement in this and somebody like Mark Watts involved in this would help y'all out most definitely.
Thank you, sir.
Closes public comments, Mayor.
Okay, commissioners, do we have any more comments or questions on this? Before we go ahead and do that, Commissioner McCool has asked that she is excused from tonight's meeting, has an audio statement that she would like to have put into the record. So we'll be under these comments before we read the ordinance and before we vote. So if you'd like to go ahead and play that, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, and Commission for the chance to have my statement read into the record on this important matter. This moratorium is a major win for us as a city. My constituents have made it known that this is a top priority to them as it relates to our city's growth and well-being. As we move forward, we must be good stewards of the little precious land that we have left in Deltona to build on. This moratorium will allow us the opportunity to engage our residents and build a development platform that we can all be proud of. We have many residents excited about being able to participate in the decisions about how to move forward while protecting the environment, while providing affordable homes for every level of income in our community, and while allowing the most important part of our organizational chart to lay out the city that they dream of living in. We are living in challenging times, and responsible growth has become the hit word of the day for politicians running this election cycle. But we must remember that our community's health is about much, much more than an election cycle. We must build sustainable communities for the children to come, and we must continue to hold builders responsible for their part in stretching the infrastructure past its true capacity. As a city, we must use this time during the moratorium to really evaluate where it is we want to go and how to remain a city that people want to live in, play in, and raise their families in. Thank you to this commission for hearing the community. I am really proud of my part in making this issue a top priority, and I'm so very proud of our community for raising the bar on this discussion. I look forward to continuing, rolling up my sleeves and getting busy with improving quality of life for all Deltonians. I am proud of the work that we have done and will continue to do to make Deltona a city on the move. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is that it? Okay. Thank you very much. So we have a motion second. We've been through public comment. We have read Commissioner McCool's statement. Marcia, would you read the ordinance, please?
Yes, Mayor, I'd be honored to. Ordinance number 12-2022, an ordinance of the City of Deltona, Florida, declaring and implementing a temporary moratorium until January 1st, 2023 on the acceptance, processing, and consideration of applications for any new rezonings resulting in a request for an increase of density beyond existing zoning entitlements to facilitate a detached dwelling on an individual lot development pattern throughout all of Deltona, requiring the Commission to initiate extensive community scoping and visioning, review of the city's comprehensive plan and land development regulations, providing for non-codification, conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Okay, before we move to a vote, would you please read the motion again?
I hereby move to adopt ordinance number 12-2022 at first reading and to schedule a second and final reading for June 20, 2022. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Thank you, ma'am. May we vote, please? And the motion passes 6-0. Next item is item B, a resolution number 2022-11, a resolution electing to use the uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem special assessments levied within the incorporated area of the city. Mr. Peters.
Yes, ma'am. Last year, we had some discussion during the budget process of the possibility of looking into a fire assessment fee. Typically, this is fees that will cover the cost of what the actual fire portion of the fire department, not the transport. Under the state statutes, we have to do a notification that we're looking at it, and this resolution suffices at that notification as required by state statute.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions, any comments? Let's see, Commissioner Bradford.
I guess where I have confusion, obviously, at this point, we don't set the rate. All you're saying is you want us to approve that we're going to look at that, because going through this, I don't see any rate, any amount, nothing. So I'm assuming at this point, all you're saying is we're giving you the authority to do it, but it's going to come back to us on the rate amount.
Right. In accordance with state statute, there is an elaborate process we have to go through, including having a consultant review what our actual fire portion of the budget is, what fee would cover it. Typically, when a municipality does a fire fee, there is a corresponding reduction in the ad valorem taxes. At this point, one of the more controversial parts of fire fees generally is the idea of assessing churches. And staff is not recommending that we build an assessment on churches as part of this, but we will go through the process and do more determination on that.
So let me get this straight. So what you're saying is if we put a special assessment for the fire, then because that's coming out of the budget, then that allows us to reduce that portion out of our budget and possibly reduce the millage. Is that what you're saying? So we're basically taking from one to put it to another.
Can you ask that one more time?
So you're saying by doing the fire assessment, which is essentially raising taxes, right? You're saying we're not going to raise taxes. You take the amount of the fire and we put it into a special fire assessment. So we're basically moving it from here, but then we're going to remove it from here.
Correct. The fire fee is a non-ad valorem fee, and let's say, for instance, it brings in $1 million. Then there would be what staff is proposing, if there would be a corresponding reduction in the ad valorem tax revenue of $1 million. The main thing it does is it is a vehicle to provide the funding for the fire portion of the fire department, separate from the ad valorem taxes.
Okay.
Commissioner Sosa?
Okay. My thing is, first, how much of that fire department budget are you going to take and put into the special assessment? I mean, when I look at this, it needs to be more in dollars and not just an arbitrary number, but more of a defined number. Because when I look at that and I divide it by the number of, households in that, are we going to see an increase in the fee and not see as much relief on the millage rate reduction?
Mr. Sosa, my commitment to the commission is that whatever fee we bring in as part of this, there will be a corresponding reduction in the ad valorem. This needs to be a neutral thing. I would also remind commission that the whole idea of this fee originated from the fire union. They were the ones that made this proposal previously when we were doing the MOU and that type of thing. So we are working in coordination with the union with regard to this fee.
Okay. Yeah, because my next biggest concern is if we have a set millage rate and we say, okay, now we do the special assessment, every resident and business in Deltona now gets an extra $200 under a special assessment on your ad valorem taxes, and you drop the millage rate 0.5% or even a whole percent, what's to keep you from the following year to say, oh, we have an emergency and we're going to take that millage rate back up? I mean, basically what you've done is you've taken how much you can charge in a millage rate, put it over here in a special assessment, and now you've given more leeway within the ad valorem tax bracket to increase millage rates.
Other than the fact that staff will remind commission every year during the budget process how much the fire fee is bringing in, and this is the corresponding amount that the millage has been reduced for that. You know, it would take a vote of the commission. I would suspect that there's probably language you can put in place when we do this fee to ensure that, you know, it requires a supermajority to increase the millage over and above what the fire fee is bringing in. I think there are vehicles to get there, but ultimately it's a vote of the commission to raise the millage rate.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I am like a little bit lost here. So are you saying that the city's working with the union, and this is what the union is asking for?
The union recommended this as a funding alternative to the ad valorem tax rate.
I'm sorry?
The union recommended this particular fee as an alternative to paying for the fire portion in the department through ad valorem taxes. Now, part of this is, depending on how you do the fee structure, it could be a situation where people that don't currently pay ad valorem taxes would end up paying more because the fee would apply, whereas the ad valorem, they're exempt. And that's why I made a reference to the churches. Churches typically do not pay ad valorem taxes. And usually when you look at a fire fee, the most controversial element in doing a fire fee across the state of Florida is applying it to a church. Because churches have not been paying that kind of a tax. It's a heavy lift for them. So quite often churches are exempted out.
So when they're exempt out, they don't pay this fee? Is that what you're trying to say? Or is that what you're saying?
If the churches are exempted or any organization is exempted, they would not pay the fee. And, you know, it's part of the calculation. For instance, there's several methods of determining the fee, and that's part of what the consultant would look at. Is do you base it on per square foot and the building category? For instance, if you have, say, a 500,000 square foot building, but it's sprinkled and it doesn't have combustible material in it, it would have a lower fee than that same 500,000 square foot building with combustible material and no sprinkler system. I'm not sure that's possible, the sprinkler part, but combustible material, the likelihood of a very intense fire is much higher, so their fee would be higher. Those are the things that the consultant would help us with in determining what the most appropriate way to determine the fee and what the most appropriate way to assess the fee.
And that also goes for residential homes?
Resident homes typically are done on an ERU basis, kind of like we do with stormwater. Rather than going into the minutia, figuring out the individual square footage of houses, we just, across the board, set one ERU for every residential structure. It simplifies the process, and it makes it easier to determine the fees.
Okay, and then again, as Commissioner Bradford mentioned, this is just to approve, to be looked at, we're not approving anything.
This is approved to begin the process to look at it. There are several steps along the way that we have to go through. The public would be involved, and but it's just to start the process.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bradford?
All right. This isn't just to look at it. This is a resolution. So what percentage of the millage is fire, hypothetically?
Say that again?
What percentage of our millage is fire?
What percentage of the millage rate that we have, what percentage covers the fire department? We all, right? That's what you're asking, Commissioner
yes,
Bradford.
yes, ma'am.
Because right now, public safety covers, I mean, we don't even have enough in our millage rate to cover public safety.
Well, that's part of what this study is going to do, because there's two different methodologies to determining what is fire and what is transport. One methodology is based on staffing level. For instance, we have 3 people on a fire truck, 2 people on an ambulance. So just using that simple logic, 60% would be fire-related and 40% would be transport. The other methodology is based on actual calls. If we have 60% of the calls are for transport and 40% are for fire, then in that instance, the fire fee would be 40% of the fire department budget. So, part of the exercise is what methodology are we going to use to determine the proportioning of fire versus transport.
And here's my thing. We have no numbers, no amounts, and I'm looking at what we posted, and this is basically saying that when this resolution passes, as of October 1st, 2023, the beginning year is 2023, that this will be into effect. To me, this is a tax increase. This is the way it's written and the way it's kind of being wording to me. I feel like a tax increase, not a, hey, we're going to say, because you're not prepared to answer the questions, I guess that's why I'm feeling that way, you're not prepared to say like 0.05 or whatever percentage of this is going to go down, right, which is going to take XYZ out of here, but we're going to be putting it over here. So the way this is written, I'm not comfortable with this as all. I just feel like it's a great idea. However, we're not being given enough, I'm not being given enough information. I can't speak for everybody else. I mean, if I was being told this is XYZ amount, this is how much the millage is going to, we could reduce the millage by doing this, but what I'm concerned of, we're going to approve this come, October 1st, 2023, according to the posting, and then we're going to get a budget and we're going to be looking at it and it's like, oh, so the money's already been fed over to cover this, this, and this. I'm just, and I hate to say it, I would like to see it more defined.
So, Commissioner Bradford, I think this is the first step to go forth with looking at a fire fee. I have concerns as well, and I know Commissioner King, you're on the board, but before we go any further with this, and I don't know what your view is on this, Mr. Peters, does this commission have a desire to go forth with exploring a fire fee? Because if the commission is not going to vote for a fire fee and the majority of the commission doesn't want to go forward with even going down this road, then why are we here? And I think that's the first thing that we need to look at. This is a beginning step to notify that we're looking at this. The next step is to determine how much the fire fee would be, which was what you're looking at, to bring in someone to analyze that. And to me, if you're going to have a fire fee and then you're going to reduce the millage, the same amount in millage, where's your benefit? The only benefit I can see is assessing a fire fee to those that don't pay now. And if we're eliminating houses of worship, that's a big cut right there. That is a big amount of revenue that we're not getting. Because when you're looking at the way other fire fees work, and is there anyone in Volusia County that has a fire fee? I mean, I know that the county has an assessment, and that's a millage rate. for the county has that for their fire district. That is a millage rate portion, it's not a fee. But I know South Florida has a lot of fire fees, and they range from $100 to $300, depending on the municipality. And then you are looking for residential units, and then you're looking at a percentage of square foot for commercial. So you're looking at however we structure that. But when you're looking at right now eliminating houses of worship, of which we have 32 in the city, I mean, has that been a total determination? And I'm not saying yes, no, I'm not saying I'm for this or against it, but I think that as a commission, Commissioner King, I'll have you speak next, but we really need to, are we, as a commission, wanting to move forward with exploring a fire fee?
Well, Mayor, what I was also going to suggest was that I think this is something that we could possibly have a workshop on, so we're not up here just going back and forth, because there are a lot of options. I think it's a great opportunity, and I think there's answers that they can give us that define it a lot more. Because like I say, the way it looks right now is we're raising taxes. That's how it's going to come across. And I think to have it a little bit more defined would be beneficial.
Commissioner King?
I mean, I would be for it, though.
I'm not opposed to looking at this at all. However, we have to, this is the first step. All we're asking, all Mr. Peters is asking, is that we say, yeah, okay, let's approve this and let them do the work so they can come back with the numbers and everything else that we need to make intelligent, educated decisions in the next 2 or 3 meetings as we move forward. That's all we're doing tonight. We don't have to have numbers tonight. All we have to do is say, yeah, go ahead and let's move forward. Give us something to look at and chew on at the next meeting. That's what we're looking to do. That's what I think he's looking to do. And quite frankly, I'll probably get some flack for this, but I can tell you at my church, we have had several calls for EMS. Several. And we don't pay for anything. So I'm not sure that I'm not opposed to having churches pay something. And I think that it would be a good idea that we have a look at what the numbers are with them and without them. Those are the kind of things that will be brought back to us at the next presentation of this. So I'm for moving forward with this.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor and then Commissioner Ramos.
Thank you, Mayor. And okay, so my question is, when you say we're going to be looking at these rates, is that also going to be including the union? Are we working in partnership with the union here, or is it just city staff who's looking at these figures? I'm just asking because you're telling me that you're working with the union, but we don't see anybody here from the union speaking on behalf of the union.
What I was saying with the union is the one that brought up the idea, and we are moving forward with it. The other thing I think is important to realize is our current millage rate is 7.85. We are 2.15 mils from maxing out. By state statute, you can only go to 10 mil. God forbid that we have another 2007-2008 crisis. If you will recall that our millage rate went up about 50% from 2009 to current levels. If we were to have a major downturn, we don't have a whole lot of room in the millage rate. By reducing the millage rate, we give ourselves more room should there be a financial crisis in the country. That's not the main reason for it, but it is something to think about. You know, we certainly will have our consultant look at all the different options, including churches. You know, one of the things I had talked about at one time was to phase in churches over 5 years so that they don't get hit with all of it at one time. They can budget for the new fees. But the most important thing is let's just take a look at it, have a consultant that specializes in this type of work, take a look at it and tell us what our options are. And, you know, as Ms. Bradford said earlier, the more information we have, the more we can make an intelligent decision. The key here is just to start the process so we can get that information. And then you all will have the information you need to make a sound decision whether to go forward with it or not.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ramos and then Commissioner Bradford.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I think, Peter, you answered one of the questions. In this study, we're going to see all options. There's nothing going to be exempt. So we're going to see with the exemptions and without the exemptions. And I think, Commissioner King, you're correct. I think the challenge, Commissioner Bradford, is that I'll go back to one of our last meetings when we talked about stormwater fee, and we didn't have much information. People quickly jumped the gun. But I think this is part of that conversation, being able to give them an opportunity to come back and bring the numbers. I know sometimes it's a challenge just because it's put out there, and we're going to quickly get attacked, and people want questions they want answers to their questions. But I think it's a good opportunity. Let's study the fact. If we can't study it and have an expert outside of this to look at this, then we're never going to make an intelligent decision. I think let's be able to have someone to look at this, and then we can look at those numbers. And then I think those questions that you're asking are much better at that time. I would love to see a workshop, but all that's going to do is just push things down the road.
That's right.
Commissioner Bradford.
So here's where my questions are. When we're doing just a study, do we, and I guess maybe I'm not knowledgeable of this, so when we do just a study, like we're talking and we're trying to come up with numbers, do we usually do a posting that says we're going to do this? If we're doing a study, just a study, do we generally just do that? Because this was posted as we're doing this, not a, hey, we're going to do a study. And this is actually in a resolution. So you guys keep telling me that this is just a study so we can be given numbers, but look on your docs, guys. You were given the legal ad that says we're doing it. So can you please make sure that this is, thank you.
Sure. If you all recall when we did the waste management contract, and we basically were looking at the possibility of them, because they had given us the best price, but it was also dependent on us giving commercial. So very similar to this, we had to advertise and give notice before you actually did it. And the same thing here, Florida, and the reason we did that is because Florida statute, when the commission was thinking of picking up commercial, there were steps we had to go through by the statute. And it took a period of time in that case before we could proceed. But at every step of that process, the commission always had to approve the next step. For this process, we have Florida statute that says you have to advertise 4 times, which the city's been doing. You have to do this resolution. This is all a precursor to the city manager being able to go out there, advertise for proposals, get a consultant, get numbers prepared that will then, whatever they show and whatever conditions are placed on them, churches this way or that, whatever happens, that will all come forward then to the commission. Just because we have this resolution or it's been advertised 4 times does not mean, as this all moves forward, that the commission cannot say, whoa, we don't want it, this isn't how we thought it was going to be, and then the commission votes and stops it or says, oh, we like this plan. These types of assessments are going on all over Florida, counties and cities, and they're doing them for a whole range of issues as everybody's trying to find how they support different things their community wants. One community is doing a fire assessment to do the high-speed, what's it called, high-speed, the internet, I can't think of what it's called, where they're putting the fiber in everywhere and they're actually doing community assessments to be able to pay for that so they can do it like citywide. So these assessments are being looked at for a number of different issues depending on the particular needs of a community. So that's what this is, and it's nothing more than that. It doesn't bind the commission. There's nothing about this that says in the end you have to do it. It just is a requirement to even look at it. So you're making your city know that this is out there, that you're going to get a consultant, you're going to look at it, you're going to see what it can do for you, and then ultimately when you get that information, the commission will make a choice. That's all it is, and it's nothing more.
Okay, so then I guess that's where I'm confused, because according to the way this is reading, and we're voting on what we're reading right now, the way this is written, it's not that we're doing a investigation or we're going to be looking into, this is it. We're going to be doing this, is how this reads.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't write this resolution, but by the same token, the statute requires a resolution and it requires the advertising. So I do know. So, I mean, if you want to change the language in the first sentence, like a resolution of the City of Deltona, Florida, is considering the use of the uniform method of collecting, you can do that. And if that makes everybody more comfortable, that you can change that language.
I mean, so far, I think I'm the only one uncomfortable with it, but I'm just,
no,
it's more so the way it's worded is, like I said, this is worded right now as an assumption of it's adopted. And if this goes through, it's adopted.
I don't believe that is true. I just don't believe that. The intent is to provide adequate notice, just like we did with solid waste. Do you have a problem with changing that language?
No.
So, I mean, Commissioner, if that makes you, and I didn't read that language carefully or even think about that, but not to, I mean, your concerns, are important. So the advertising I did have something to do with, and that is totally required by the statute.
I get that.
We're doing that.
But
So
when we vote on this, this is it.
Change, I don't believe that's true.
So how can we change this? So
we can say,
Ma'am.
Look at the first whereas. Read the first whereas.
it says is contemplating the imposition of special assessments. So
and then the next one says the city intends to use this for collecting non-ad valorem.
The uniform method, yes.
Right. And then it goes down to say when it goes into effect. So, I mean.
At the end of the first whereas, what I would do is after the word fire services, I would add, and nothing in this resolution compels the commission to approve such fire fees. This is just to begin the process of a study.
Thank you. And I'm all for that.
But I also think you should change the title then, in that a resolution of the City of Deltona, Florida to contemplate the use of the uniform or something like that.
Right,
Just something where it doesn't say electing to use, because I think that's your problem.
That is correct. The way it's worded is
So
that
you could
it's not
say,
a investigation, it's a goal.
considering the use of, and that way we only have to change a couple words. Do you have that, Joyce? Instead of electing, we just say considering the use of. Is that okay, John? Is that all right? Okay. And I think then you're okay with it. Thank you. Sure. Yeah, I don't think that, I don't know. Commissioner, did you have a problem with the city intends? That's in the second whereas.
Well, I think, actually both of you, I like the idea of we're not electing to use at this point, because we're not. We haven't elected. We are contemplating the use, and then, like, Mr. Peters was stating under the "and," that nothing will be final until, whatever further through the commission.
Okay, yeah. Do you have that language too? Okay, so we've got, in the title, we go instead of electing to considering the use. Okay, and then John, where did you want to add the other language?
What I was going to add was nothing in this resolution requires the commission to approve such assessment at a future date.
And where'd you want to put it?
Between the word,
The first whereas.
the first whereas, after the word services,
Okay,
and before the word and.
okay, that works there. Do you have that, Joyce?
And it should be "and nothing in this resolution requires the commission to approve such fees, such assessment."
Such assessments.
I mean, with that, I would be fine making a motion to approve it with your changes, unless anybody else has anything else they'd like to say.
You can go ahead and make the motion, and then we'll see if there's a second. And then we still have, I believe, Commissioner Sosa's on the board.
I hereby move to approve resolution number 20-11 with the changes submitted. Resolution electing to use the uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem special assessments levied within the incorporated area of the city, reserving the city's ability to impose possible assessments in the incorporated area of the city. The acting city manager is authorized to make corrections to Scrivener's errors.
Commissioner, can you repeat that for us, please?
I hereby move to approve resolution number 20-11 with the changes discussed, electing to use the uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem special assessments levied within the incorporated area of the city, reserving the city's ability to possibly impose assessments in the incorporated area of the city. The acting city manager is authorized to make corrections to Scrivener's errors.
I think it needs, Liz, instead of electing in that very beginning, it should be considering, to be consistent.
Resolution,
in the motion.
considering, right.
Considering, not electing.
Considering the use.
Yeah. And then I think we're okay in the resolution and in the motion.
I guess somebody's recording me.
So I hereby move to approve resolution number 20-11 with the changes discussed, considering the use,
Considering to use
the uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem special assessments levied within the incorporated area of the city, reserving the city's ability to possibly impose assessments in the incorporated area of the city. The acting city manager is authorized to make corrections of Scrivener's errors.
That's good.
Okay.
Is it reserving the city's ability to possibly impose assessments? Because that's what Commissioner Bradford
Yeah,
said,
she
possibly
said that.
is in there. Okay.
Right, because it doesn't make it certain.
Right. Is everyone good with that? And then I'll go to Commissioner Sosa.
I was just curious, how much money are you setting aside to do this study?
I believe the number that I heard is somewhere in the order of $40,000 to $50,000.
Thank you.
Okay, public comment.
Albert Bryan, please.
No. Yes. Thank you.
Let me see if I can get this straight here. Y'all are talking about changing whereases. Well, if I remember right, this was discussed a while back where the whereas, what's said in the whereas absolutely has nothing to do with the actual resolution. So you're changing nothing. Am I understanding that right? Legally, you just changed nothing. You had a 5-minute discussion about nothing because the whereas doesn't do anything for the resolution. The resolution actually starts where it says section 1. That's where the resolution starts. So if you don't actually change that part of it, y'all just had a 5-minute conversation about absolutely nothing. Now, all that being said, here's my problem with this. I'm going to use your words against you, Mr. Peters. He said that what if we have another 2007 economic downturn? We are already at 7.85 in our ad valorem. This is a way for him to take us down to what? 6, we'll say. Round number, I'm going to say 6. So you're taking down 1.85. So now, instead of having, 2 and 1.5 that you can go up, now he has 4 points he can go up again before he's at state max. That is what he's saying. He's saying that this is a separate assessment now from your ad valorem. By lowering your ad valorem, if 2007 turns around again, he can go right ahead and raise it right back up. And basically give every one of us out here in the city that middle finger. That's exactly what he just said, whether y'all realized it or not. Now, going all the way down to Exhibit B on this, it states, the city of Deltona, Florida, hereby provides notice in pursuit of section whatever state statute that it intends to use, doesn't say anything that it's not going to use it, that it will never use it, that y'all have to vote on it, and or otherwise. It just says that it intends to use it. So, all this talk about maybe we'll use it, maybe we won't, that's not what that says. And by changing the whereases, you didn't change doddly squat. So you're back to that. If you approve this tonight, you're giving him a blank slate to throw something up at you that says he's going to change your fire assessment, and he's going to take and slap this 5-point on it. Y'all vote yes or no. And then you got to answer all these people out here. Why don't y'all take and table this tonight, have a workshop on it, spend 2 hours talking about it, and see what you actually come up with. Now, here again, I'm not against this. I'm not even for it. I think y'all are going into this blind, and I think that's foolish.
Thank you, sir.
Manny Rodriguez, please.
Manny Rodriguez, 1376 Ozora. This sounds to me like a fire sale. We're going to lower our millage rate just so we can increase it later on. So as my previous person spoke, maybe using his numbers, lower it to 6, something happens, kick it up to 10. So we're going to be paying more anyway. Fire fees have been in effect in the United States since the 1700s. People always had to pay fire fees to fire departments, and in many cities, there were various fire departments that were private, and people had to pay to be protected. And they had fire medallions they used to put in the house to identify the property, the house, or the structure, and to which fire department it belonged. And they paid a fee for that. I'm not against the fee. I think it's great. I think we should all have to pay for it. What really burns me a little bit is the introduction of this ordinance when he says we're going to exclude the churches. Insurance companies do not exclude churches. If they want to protect their structures, they have to get insurance. Why are we going to protect the churches? When a church wants to build a new building, they can raise enough money to build a building, so they can raise enough money to pay the fees. I'm against that, totally. Then the other thing is, every time I come to these meetings and I hear Mr. Peters speak, he talks about consultants. We're going to hire another consultant, $40,000 to $50,000. Do you know what consultants do for you? You know what consultants do for him? Consultants, what they do for him is validate what he already knows, and in case it messes up, he can blame them for it. What's wrong with the city? We don't have anybody in management that does anything. We have to hire consultants for everything that we do. It's shameful. I'm sorry. I don't agree with it. I'm not convinced that that is the right way to go. I think it's wasting our money. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Richard Belli, please.
Good evening. I have to agree with what the gentleman said. There's always a consultant. Everything is a consultant. Let's consult. Let's do this. 50,000 here, 100,000 here, 200,000 for water. I mean, always a consultant. I mean, you have some people. There's not a large crowd here tonight. Luckily for them, and I'm not looking to insult you. I'm not looking to do that. But you should have called the workshop in this 10, 15 minutes ago. I mean, we have to hear this back and forth, and it goes nowhere. It just goes nowhere, and it diffuses any hope that anybody has for the city government. And if you take it as an insult, and that's too bad, but it's the truth. People get worn out. They hear this back and forth. And I got to say another thing. You got to stop with these consultants. You got to make some decisions. Come on, use the grown-ups.
Thank you, sir.
Close public comments.
Okay, Commissioner Bradford, and then I'd like to say a couple words.
Okay, Madam Attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please go over what Mr. Bryant stated? You know, because it does state under number one, that commencing the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2023, and with the statement, blah, 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 it goes on to say that this is going forward until discontinued. So if we go through all of our readings, this is written in gold, because as he stated, all the whereases really don't mean anything, and I should have caught that. Can you confirm with that?
I have great respect for Mr. Bryant's opinions on things, and I'm not going to differ with him, other than we did change the title of this. And so by changing the title and saying that we are not electing, we are considering, it changes the whole theme of the resolution. Now, you could take that theme and bring it all the way through the resolution, every one of the whereases and the sections, and in another circumstance, what Mr. Bryan said would be absolutely right. The sections are always the guts of a resolution or an ordinance, but by the same token, because we were changing that on the fly, so to speak, that was changing the whole, you know, because if that you said you were considering, and then the city manager brings that back to the commission and said, oh, you already approved it, that's not true. That's not true. Now, also the publication, that is a form that everybody is using in the state of Florida with regards to considering this. And so that's why that form was picked up. So I still do not believe that if you adopt this and you've changed that language, all you're doing is considering this. And, you can ask for it to be rewritten and something brought back to you that makes you feel good in every section and paragraph. I just can't do it on the fly right now. But I don't believe that your intent or what has been discussed, which becomes part of your minutes and is always available to show what you meant to do, if anybody wants to bring this back and complain about it, I think you have shown, and I don't know what the vote will be, but I think you have all shown, the ones that have spoken, what their opinions are with regards to this.
Well, I guess so my question is, Section 1 basically states, commencing with the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2023, and with the tax statement mailed for the fiscal year and continuing thereafter, blah, blah, blah. That's basically the biggest assumption part of the whole thing.
We can add if approved.
Right.
If that makes you feel, we can do that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So do you put if approved, or would we, if we go through as a commission, not to interrupt, but if we go through as a commission and like Mr. Peters said, he comes back with the figures and the amounts, I'm assuming the actual document that we would have at that point would say that the fire assessment is going to go up XYZ, this is going to go down XYZ. So at that point, that's where I would think that Section 1 would be submitted. So if you deduct Section 1 from here, then the rest to me seems like it would be more of that. I don't know what you think on that, or like you're saying in consideration. So, is Section 1 even feasible if we're just doing a discussion on it?
I haven't been involved on this, so I'm uncomfortable just changing all of the work that was done. You could, in every section, just put, if approved, mark, what do you call it, the
red line?
Yeah. If approved for 1, 2, 3. If approved.
And see, and I'm okay with that because I know it does cost to post. I do understand that it costs us money to put that posting out, the legal ad, that's $1,000. So, I would be okay if we just modified it with the if approved, but, number 1 seems pretty solid. I guess that's what scares me is number 1.
And I think you could put, if approved, commencing with. All of this is dependent upon
I'm good with
final
that.
approval. But John is far more familiar with this, and I don't want to, lawyer that work on something I didn't work on.
Mr. Peters?
Yes, ma'am. This is a very statutorily cumbersome process. The first requirement is the advertisement 4 weeks in a row, this resolution. Then you do the study. What that particular paragraph is referring to is, in order to actually move forward with the fee, we have to not only do this resolution, but also the future resolution implementing the fee to the Department of Revenue and the county by January 10th, 2023, in order for it to be on the October 2023 tax rolls, in order to make that happen. That's part of the reason we're on the timeline we are, is that we have a very set time frame in order. This will not go into effect next fiscal year. It will be in the 23-24 fiscal year, assuming that we complete the study, the commission is okay with it, and we pass another resolution saying that we're moving forward with it, and that has to be done by January 10, 2023. The resolution is confusing to a degree, I would acknowledge that, but the intent is to spell out all the requirements, which is, we did the 4 notification, we passed in this resolution to start the process. There will be a subsequent vote presumably before January 10th, 2023, that we want to move forward with this fee. That goes to the appropriate parties. I can assure you that before we even take a vote on this thing, it will be advertised much like this one was, so everybody be fully aware. The process will involve the public, but you know, what we're doing tonight is part of the process to get us there.
So
Commissioner Bradford, if you look at the state statute, 4A, a local government shall adopt a non-ad valorem assessment role at a public hearing held between January 1st and September 15th. The non-ad valorem assessment is levied for the first time, and it goes this whole thing. At least 20 days prior to the public hearing, the local government shall notice the hearing by first-class United States mail and by publication in a newspaper. You have to mail out everything to everyone that is noticed with the assessment. And the notice shall be sent to each person owning property subject to the assessment and shall include the following information: the purpose, the total amount to be levied against each parcel, the unit of measurement to be applied against each parcel to determine the assessment, the number of such units contained within each parcel. So this is just the intent to do this. If the commission decides to do something, you have to follow the statutory process. Every person that owns a parcel in the city has to receive this. They have to receive the amount, how much it'll be for their parcel, and it has to all be broken down if it's a different type of an assessment. So a statement that failure to pay the assessment will cause a tax certificate to be issued, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is all in the statute that has to be done before anything is adopted. I don't know if that helps or not.
it
That's all
does,
there.
but at the same time, according to what is written in front of you, had we not made those changes like the attorney said, if you read section 1, it clearly states that this is going to go into effect, and then what's it say? And the city intends to use the uniform method collecting non-ad taxes authorized by Florida statutes as collecting non-ad providing services, and basically goes on to say that we are now going to be, once it's approved, notifying the state. We don't even have the amounts.
But you have to notify the state of a resolution that you have of intent, and that's the first thing.
And what did it say? It said with the intent of the total amount levied. You guys don't even have that. So what you just read, the total amount levied was not on there.
Can I recommend that we table this till the meeting on the 20th? Let me work with the city attorney's office on the proper language, and we will get all squared away so that there's no confusion what's going on.
If that's your recommendation, right now we have a motion on the floor. The motion was made by Commissioner Bradford, seconded by Commissioner King. First of all, we're going to go ahead and do you want to continue to vote on that motion? Because the first step is to decide what we're doing with that motion. The second is to take a vote on whether or not we want to table. And the third will be to go ahead and yes or no, up or down on a tabling. So, commissioners, that is your
I rescind my motion.
You don't have to.
I think it needs to be tabled. I mean, I'm sorry you guys disagree, but I'm not throwing a blank check out there.
But if we bring this forward to the next meeting, what is going to change from tonight? What are you're not going to have an amount.
He's going to change it, he said. He's going to make it where it's stating what they're actually doing.
I'll tailor it, I think, based on what I've heard, and then I'll review the statute and talk to the city manager. We'll come up with copy that I think will be more palatable to everyone. And we don't have,
you can't.
And our advertising is fine, as long, we don't have to redo anything, as long as, you know, we're tabling it to a date certain.
But that would not include an amount, correct?
We don't have an amount.
Well, no. But
Okay.
I want to bring that to clarification so that Commissioner Bradford realized that even though
But
we extended, it's not going to bring, I'm just saying, it's not
Right,
going to
but
give
it's
us
just
an
saying
amount.
we're giving them permission to do like investigation. Let's see what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Right now, what it reads is that we're doing it.
Madam Mayor.
I understand.
Your advertisement states that it was to be held on 6:30 p.m. on June 2nd, 2022 at the Deltona City Hall.
And we
And we can table it.
So, Madam City Attorney, we have a motion on the floor and a second. The motion has been rescinded, the second has not. Do we go forth and move forward and vote on the motion?
You don't have you only have a second, unless somebody wants to come in and provide the motion and the second holds, but right now the motion maker has withdrawn it.
So the second is automatically nullified?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the motion is off the table. And now we will go ahead and entertain a motion to table. This is not tabling. This is, are we voting to move forward with tabling this to the next meeting? Is there anyone that would like to make a motion to see if we want to table?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to table this matter to our next meeting, our next commission meeting.
Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Nobody seconded, right? Okay, so motion dies for lack of a second. So we are not going to table that. So now we will move forward for someone else to make the motion to move forward with this, if that is the desire of the commission. Is there anyone that is going to make a motion to move forward with this?
I'll make a motion, and not because I'm for re-election. That's not a very nice comment to make, Commissioner Bradford. I hereby move to approve resolution number 20-11, resolution electing to use the uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem special assessments levied within the incorporated area of the city, reserving the city's ability to impose assessments in the incorporated area of the city. The acting city manager is authorized to make corrections to scrivener's errors. However, should it also be said with the noted corrections and additions that were mentioned during the course of the meeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, properly moved by Vice Mayor Avila Vasquez, seconded by Commissioner King. So, we have gone through public comment. We have no one else on this, so we will now move forward with a vote. However, before we do that, Madam Clerk, when you are ready, as I know it's very confusing, to go ahead and reread the motion, which was,
I hereby move to approve resolution number, it's 2022-11, electing to use the uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem special assessments levied with the incorporated area of the city, reserving the city's ability to impose assessments in the incorporated area of the city. The acting city manager is authorized to make corrections to scrivener's errors, and this includes with the noted corrections made during the meeting.
and changes,
The changes.
corrections and changes made it during the meeting, correct?
Okay, got it?
Yes.
Sorry. That's the change from electing to considering in the title. And then there is that additional language that I don't have written down that the city manager added. Do you have that written down, Joyce?
In the first whereas, after the word and, nothing in the resolution requires the commission to approve such assessments. We're adding that as well.
Okay.
Taking out the word electing in the title, putting considering the use of. Those are the two changes I have.
And in section 1, the third line, the city intends to use the, did we not add in on section 1, the city intends to use the uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem assessments authorized in section blah, 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 Florida statute? Did we not add anything in there?
No.
We did not?
You
Then we'll leave
talked
it.
about it, but
Okay,
you
then we'll
didn't.
leave it. Okay, we're good, Joyce? Okay, may we vote, please? And the motion passes 4-2. Mr. Peters, regarding this, I think that scheduling a workshop or another discussion on how we're going to go forth with this is definitely in order.
My suggestion, Madam Mayor, is that once we get a consultant on board, that consultant will conduct the workshop.
Okay. Okay, we will next move to item 7, old business. There is none. Item 8, new business. Item 8A, code violation, non-ad valorem tax roll assessment to address city's costs relating to nuisance abatement at 179 Citation Avenue. Mr. Paradise.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members of the Commission, Ron Paradise, Community Services Director for the record. What we have here tonight is a process regarding code violations at address 179 Citation Avenue. It is known as an addition or part of a non-ad valorem tax roll assessment on the property. This is something that's been on the city's books since 2018. I believe this is the first time that the city has looked at this. I'm going to go kind of give a background on the mechanics of the non-ad valorem tax assessment and then get into the details of the 179 citation property. The non-ad valorem tax assessment tool is found within Chapter 38 of the City Code of Ordinances that address public nuisances in light of public health, safety, and welfare. The non-ad valorem tax assessment allows the city to place a tax levy on a property to recover a cost of a city code compliance abatement action. Typically, code compliance abatements and fines result in a lien placed on a property. The city can wait for the property to be sold to have the lien satisfied, or in some limited cases, the city can foreclose on a property. In Florida, however, a homesteaded property, meaning your primary domicile, cannot be foreclosed upon to cover a code compliance lien. In addition, code compliance liens do sunset after a 20-year lifespan. It is not unusual for some code liens to run with a homesteaded property for years. In some cases, the city has periodically revisited a property to perform multiple abatement actions under the same property ownership. Abatement costs to the city can exceed $10,000 per property that involve hauling large accumulations of debris typically. Under the non-ad valorem tax assessment process, the city can place those abatement costs on the tax roll for that property. The result is a predictable method for the city to recover investment in these properties that involve code compliance abatement actions. Depending on circumstances, the city can work with the individual property owner to spread out abatement cost over a period of several tax cycles if deemed appropriate. The situation for the homeowner is the abatement costs cannot be ignored or not paid. Under the non-ad valorem tax assessment approach, the owner or mortgage company must pay or risk possible loss of the title to the dwelling. The city will recoup abatement costs as a tax certificate is purchased as part of the annual tax certificate sale. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about the property at 179 Citation Avenue. This is a homesteaded property that is owned by Vivian and Rafael Colon since 2007. In that time, there have been 90 code compliance investigations resulting in 12 special magistrate cases and associated with Citation Avenue. The city has abated the property 7 times since 2007 to clean up debris on the property. In the spring of 21, the city opened a series of cases regarding a significant accumulation of debris and inoperable vehicles at the Citation property. In June of 21, the special magistrate found the property in violation. At this hearing, in an attempt to work with the homeowners, the city offered a dumpster to assist in the cleanup free of charge. The owner never took the city up on the free dumpster and did not satisfactorily clean up the site. On September 8th and 9th of 21, the city abated the debris on the property. The cost was, for this abatement, was $15,273.03. This does not include any city administrative fees or the like. I do have a few pictures. There's a few pictures included in your all's agenda package, but just to kind of go through some of these pictures, if I can get this to come up. This is an overhead view or an aerial view of this property. You see a pretty significant accumulation of debris on the property. Well, we can't seem to get back there right now, but we also have other photos along those lines here. With that being said, though the property is still in non-compliance for non-permitted structures, the owners have not brought back any debris to the property. In addition, the owners did submit a letter objecting to the non-ad valorem tax assessment. A copy of that letter was part of the agenda. Since the owners have not received any other code violations since the September abatement, staff suggests the payment of $15,270.03 be spread out over 3 tax years. Basically, recommending that the current tax roll levy be in the amount of $5,091.01. This will give the owners about a year to come up with the payment, since this will appear on the tax roll for a payment in November. However, the tax certificate sales will not occur until May of 2023. The city finance department will also be required to track this tax roll assessment and make sure it appears on every tax roll for the 3 years that is proposed to be spread out. One of the disadvantages for the city for doing it this way is that if the property is sold or transferred in ownership after year 1, for example, then the city won't be able to assess the remaining $10,000+ figure on the property. I'll be happy to field any questions y'all may have with regard to this.
Commissioner Bradford?
Okay, reading the individual's letter, he basically states he has $1,900 a month income. Minus his $2,572 in bills a month, leaves him negative $672. Take the $55,091, even if they tried to save the money, that leaves them negative $1,096.30 a month. So how are they going to save money to pay that $5,000? And like you're saying, if they sell the house, we're out.
They have told us that they have engaged their mortgage broker to potentially refinance this property, of which to pay off this proposed assessment.
So if they do that, then why would we need to do this? Or do you have to have the assessment in place in order for them to do this? Or if they sell it, we're out?
If they sell it, we are out if we don't do the assessment. Basically, if we do the assessment, just hypothetically speaking, if we did the assessment for the entire $15,000+ that amount plus any other taxes and fees would appear as part of the tax certificate sale, assuming they didn't pay the taxes, and somebody that would buy the tax certificate would basically pay that, and the city would be made, would get its money back.
But if they're going to refinance it, why wouldn't we get our money back?
Well,
I mean, how soon are they talking refinancing, I guess?
I do not know. That is just something that was that was mentioned, and I'm not sure how viable that is, to be honest with you.
The idea was, again, there's the interest in the city in recouping money that it has spent, even though the property owner had ample time and was even offered a dumpster and stuff to help him clean up. And the other side of, they did contact the city, they're trying to work it out. And so the feeling was, well, we can either put a tax lien on this year, if you all agreed, for the 15,000, but we didn't want to push them over, and so should we just do the 5,000 plus? But once we get it on the non-ad valorem roll, then the city has a priority. So we go ahead of the mortgage at that point. And otherwise, we don't have a priority. So again, you're just trying to figure out what's the path. And again, it's the first time we've ever done this. So what is the best path to pursue that is fair? We're trying to maximize the chances of at least getting a part of it. And, and if they can get all of it, they may not get it all. It's just a question of balancing. You could either do the 5 and go for 3 years, or you can put the whole 15 on, hoping they get the refinance and they can just pay us off. There's no way to know those things. And we haven't been given any specificity with regards to it. And so it's just a question of the city spent this money on their property, to improve the whole neighborhood so they didn't have to look at all the trash and everything else. And it's an attempt to, we have very little recourse with regards to homesteaded properties as far as getting any money.
No, and I totally understand that. Staff did, I have to say this, staff did an amazing job. Amazing, amazing job. I'm glad it was them and not me. So I'm not disagreeing with you on that, Ms. Marshall. What I am, I guess, more concerned on is, even if they do a refinance, let's say, I think even the bank is going to look at it and go, you've got $2,500 a month in bills and you're bringing in $1,900, you're negative, so the chance of them even getting a refi is going to be slim to none. So I guess I'm still concerned that even if you put it on a tax roll, they don't have the money to pay those annual property taxes. It's going to go into a tax sale anyway, and then what?
Well,
we only get 1 year's recoup.
Yeah, I guess and the other thing is they may have equity. I mean, homes have appraised in value, so, they may be able to cash out, some, of the equity in the house also. I mean, we can't get that kind of, we're not a bank, so, we can't get that kind of detailed information. We're just trying to, what's the best path to recoup as much of the city's money as we can, and still trying to be humans. And so, that's where we kind of came up with the 5, and see what happens. But at least we'd get a third of it in, even if they sold it, however they tried to do it, we've now got priority. So.
You good, Commissioner, or do you have any other? You good? Commissioner Sosa?
Okay. I'm looking at the same thing. I read the letter. They have about $1,900 a month in income, $24,000 a year. So if you put $5,000 a year, you're looking at about a 20% of their income going just to paying this, plus whatever their other taxes are. So you might as well put it at about 25% of their income. You said they had 7 abatements prior. Was there any cost associated with those abatements other than administrative here?
They have over $26,000 in liens on this property already.
But the liens, are they because they didn't come into compliance or because we physically had to go and remove things?
Both.
And do you have a breakdown of how much that was?
I do not, sir, no.
Okay. And here's the thing, even if they, one, it's my understanding, nobody's going to refinance them with a $26,000 lien. So, you know, that's right out the window. That's not even a consideration. If you got a lien on your house, you're not getting refinanced unless something happened to that lien. Should they sell the house and after the first year and we get the $5,000, you're still not going to lose the other 10 because you still got a $26,000 lien that has to be satisfied before the purchase can be done, correct?
No.
Nope.
No, that
No,
lien does
we
not
don't
have
have
to be satisfied.
priority. The mortgage is going to take.
mortgage has
probably,
that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, have we looked into helping them with something a little bit better as far as a payment program, other than, you know, just $5,000 on an ad valorem tax bill?
We have not. Again, you know, it's kind of a situation where how long do we want to protract this out? And you know, we're not set up as a lending institution like Marcia indicated earlier in this conversation.
Yeah, 'cause I'm looking at this. You got $1,200 in Social Security and $700 from the Veterans Administration. So that tells me that, you know, they're not going to be able to afford $5,000 at the end of the year, and they're not getting a refinance. Should this go and it was placed on the tax rolls after year one and they cannot pay that $5,000 special assessment, basically they're going to be out of the house eventually, correct?
Eventually, what would happen, you know, just following this out is certificate holder after 2 years has the ability to make an application for a tax deed. And at that time, the tax deed process would be initiated. And eventually, if it isn't satisfied or otherwise, you know, paid off, it would get auctioned on the courthouse steps, so to speak.
Okay, so since this is the first time we're doing this, and I know when we approved this earlier, I was against it because something like this I knew was going to come up.
We would have priority. I mean, we would at least get the 5,000, whatever. And that's because even if it goes to auction or whatever, our lien now is #1 priority.
Right. Now, I remember when this came up a while back, I think it was a year ago, so the city said that they would make all efforts to help folks that may not be able to take care of the property themselves by putting them in touch with other nonprofits or something like that. Was that done?
I do not know what's been done in the past along those lines. The only thing I can say that was done recently with this latest abatement was the offer for the solid waste containers.
Okay, but we didn't put them in touch with anybody that could possibly help them? Because I'm looking at this and I'm going to say they're probably over the age of 62.
I think that is accurate.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Okay. Yeah, just Officer Lovett just advised me that they have been offered help in the past, which they have refused.
Was there any reason why they refused? Did they give you a reason?
He's every statement that I've gotten from him is that he'll be working on it to get it cleaned up. And we had offered all kinds of help. We offered to bring people over there to help him go through it. He said he wanted to do it himself.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Do they live by themselves?
Pardon me?
The couple, is there a couple that live by themselves?
I believe that to be the case, yes. Those are the two owners of record.
Do you know if he's a disabled veteran?
I do not know.
Okay, is there any way the city can help with lower payments on this? I mean, so I understand that the city has offered help and stuff, and they have turned it down. You know, sometimes their pride will lead them to do things like that. Like, I can do it myself, and in all honesty, they probably can't. Has all this, whatever was going on in their home, was it already cleaned up? Is it taken care of?
It is now, after the city abated it.
It is cleaned up?
Yes, they're still outstanding for non-permanent structures, but that's a different situation than what we're discussing here. Still in non-compliance along those lines.
Are those the fences that he's talking about in the letter?
Fences and structures.
I'm sorry?
A fence and a structure, I believe that to be the case.
I don't know, I just, we talk a lot about helping the homeless, and then on the other hand, I just don't want to look like we're adding more families out there. I just wish we can find a way to really help this family a little bit more, or this couple. Thank you.
Vice Mayor, I mean, the commission can say we're gonna do $1,000 for 15 years. Sure.
Can I speak, please? So, go on clerk.org. 2008, we already have issues at 179 Citation. Go to the clerk's office. All this stuff is on here. It's been 2008 is 14 years ago, am I right? So for 14 years, there have been issues at this house. The neighbors have had to put up with this for 14 years. I did some math. On 2021 tax roll, the house is assessed at $63,000 minus a $38,500 exemption, so the taxable value is $24,500. From 2008 to current, this house has paid to the city of Deltona in property taxes, just the city of Deltona, not the whole property tax bill, $2,289 since 2008. 14 years, we've collected $2,289 in property taxes off this house. Because of Homestead, it's got a completely under-assessed value. None of that is our problem. But my whole issue with code enforcement and everything else is, why do we even bother if we have 15 years of noncompliance? And now we're trying to go ahead and collect. About 5 years ago, the property appraiser allowed this non-ad valorem assessment over $1,500 to be placed on the property, on any property. It's done over $1,500, so it's not, if the city has to go in and mow somebody's lawn that can't afford it, we don't get that back. It has to be $1,500 every year, correct, sir? Or is it accumulative? I think it's accumulated, right? $1,500.
I think it's $3,500.
Is it gone up to $3,500?
Yeah,
it was, initially it was $1,500 when he first did it. So you can't go in there and take money if you have somebody that can't afford to mow their lawn or is elderly and so on and so forth. The city has to put a lien against that. We're not allowed to collect that. It has to be a significant amount. And the property appraiser did that on purpose so that the municipalities can't collect from people that don't have it, that are older, that have initial issues. That's not the case here. Anyone signed up for public comment on this item?
I believe the homeowner is here as well.
Hey, Ron.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, just as a footnote, the property appraiser, the Volusia County property appraiser has kind of taken a position that they would not support non-ad valorem tax assessments on homesteaded properties. We did, Officer Lovett and myself, go over and meet with the property appraiser and some of his higher-ranking staff members and provided them with the extensive history and photographs of this property, and just kind of said, we need some guidance here. He says, give us a couple of days. Well, they did, came back and said, all right, we will support this based on the extensive history and the fact that it just seems that we can't get compliance here and he, like I said, he supported that.
How much did you have to roll off? How many cubic yards? Do you have an idea?
I do not have a breakdown of how many cubic yards, but it was a 2-day abatement.
Okay, thank you. Okay, public comment.
No, Mayor. Are they the property owners?
Yeah, the property owners are here.
Did they want to speak?
Yeah, they did file a statement, and they do have the right to speak.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, what, I was thinking they were going to put me on a prompt payment or something like that.
Sir, this is public comment. We don't talk back and forth with a question. If you have a question, maybe Mr. Lovett or Mr. Paradise can help you.
I was, the long night, as much as I understood it, they were going to put me in a prompt payment or something like that. I don't know what kind of prompt payment is that, so you got to let me know. And see if I, how we could deal with the situation.
Right, yes, you say if you have any comment like that, you talk to that young man over there. This is just, so you don't have anything to say. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Lovett, did you have any comments?
Yeah, I can add to that. When I went out and met with Mr. Clone, he had said that the initial payment all in one shot would be too hard on him. He said if he could stretch it out over a couple of years, then he would be good. So he thought about 3 years. That's why we came up with that 3-year plan for him, trying to work with him.
So a 3-year plan, which is what you're stated.
Yes, that's what we asked. And he has done everything except for the no permit issues for the structures on the property, but he has not brought any debris or anything back to the property again.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. Anybody else?
Richard Bellick?
Thank you. Well, everybody up there has eyes, and you see what the hand that this guy was dealt in life. I don't even know him. This is the first time I've ever seen him. But this is the time when the city has to become a city. I mean, there has to be some compassion here tonight. This is beyond the realm of reality. Let's face it. I mean, this is someone that actually needs help. They don't need a consultant. They don't need an attorney. They need you people tonight to help them stay in their house. Now, the city, with all the money the city wasted through the years, what is it going to be, $15,000, $18,000 with them? Come on, you just got to do the right thing here. There comes a time when humanity has to take over. And you have your feelings and just your sense of being has to say, this is the time we got to act. And you got to act, and you got to help him. And I'm going to tell you right now, I hope everybody on TV is watching this and shows what this city is. Now, show the compassion and do the right thing here with these people. Let them stay in this home.
Thank you, sir. That closes public comment portion for this hearing. Vice Mayor?
I have a question for Richard or Ron. Richard, you said you discussed the payment structure with the owner of the house.
Correct.
You went over this figures that you gave us, you went over that with him?
So I hand-delivered the copy of the letters to him, showing him how much he owed to the city. That's when he stated that was just too much money for him. He's came in and met with us a couple different times too. Mr. Clone's been very open with us in discussions with us. His thing was, and he stated, I just can't make all this payment at once. He's trying, and he just stated to me again, he's trying to refinance the house to get it taken care of all in one shot if he can. But he said if he could do it over a few years. And I was like, well, maybe we could look at 2 or 3. And he said, if y'all could look at 3, that would help me out. So that's when we took it back, and I took it back to Ron going, he's asking for about 3 years to get it done.
So these payments that you came up with, he's okay with that? He'll be able to afford that and still keep, what he needs to run his home and keep himself, with the house and payments and food and stuff like that. And I understand, I understand what everybody here is talking about, but I just want to work with this gentleman and make sure that we are not pushing him out of his house. I said in the beginning, we have to take into consideration what these families are going through without even seeing him. And I think my comment backs up what I said before after, seeing the gentleman up here. So I just want to make sure that he knows what these payments are and that he's going to be able to afford them and still keep himself afloat.
And we discussed that it'd be $5,000 a year for 3 years. I know he is trying to refinance it, and I've talked.
Well, he's not going to finance if he's got a lien.
Well, he could, as part of that, with the lien, they would have to pay off that lien as part of it. So they could refinance it with the lien on there. That lien would just have to be satisfied as part of that.
He's going to be okay making these payments.
Well, I can ask him again if you'd like me to ask him again. I can double check with him.
Commissioner King, do you know any veterans associations or groups that would be able to assist him or no, financially? Because if he's getting a pension from the Veterans Administration, he's obviously a veteran. But if he spreads it over 10 years, it's like $1,500 instead of $5,000. It says he's getting a pension from the veterans. The veteran's not going to give you a pension if you're not a veteran. Thanks.
Do we need to take a 5-minute recess? Because we're... Okay.
From talking to the landowner,
What do you mean the landowner?
Mr. Kalan.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the homeowner, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought there was a difference. Sorry, Ron.
That's my fault. Yeah, it appears that, knowing that technically he's got a year to pay the $5,091.01. But if he doesn't pay early, he's not going to be able to take advantage of the early payment of taxes and so forth. But, in theory, he has 1 year to figure it out and to make the payment, the tax payment. he says that he can manage that. Though I think it's going to be, based on what we know, the finances is certainly going to be, a heavy lift.
Mr. Paradise, can I ask you a question?
Yes,
You said
ma'am.
that we offered a free dumpster and so on and so forth.
Yes.
How much would that have taken off do you have a cost of that?
I don't know.
Okay.
And I think it probably would have been more than one dumpster that ultimately would have come out of there as well.
Okay. Commissioner Bradford and Commissioner Sosa, and we'll wrap this up.
I mean, I want to be honest, the chance of him getting financed, when they refinance a home, they want you to have an 80-20 percentage, more than likely. Never do they finance somebody who starts off negative $672.05. So the chance of him getting a refi is probably going to be slim to none. And he's basing being able to pay us off on the refinance. And then what's going to happen is what? His house goes into auction and he's on the street. And I don't know if he totally understands that. I don't want to rely on I'm possibly going to get a refi because the banks right now are extremely tight. And like I said, he doesn't have, he's only going to get 20, they're not going to do it based on his income. I mean, I would even feel better taking it out, in say 10 years, where a $1,500 a year is a lot more attainable and affordable. And I know there's concern of not getting our money back. However, if he turns around and he flips the home for sale, which is the only way he's going to be able to live, we're not going to get it back anyway. At least this way, he's able to stay in his home, have an affordable means, and be able to make that monthly payment. I think an extra because if I do the math, he's negative $1,096 a month with that $400 a month. And I appreciate him saying I can do it. But when you figure out how to stretch the dollar that far, I want you to tell me how you did it. Because it's tough. I don't know how you're doing it. I didn't even see food in here. So I don't see how it's attainable. So what happens is we put this on here, somebody buys his tax note, then we get paid the next year, then his house is gone. He doesn't pay this in 2 years, his house is gone. He's on the street. We just put a veteran on the street. So it's not about being compassionate and whatever. It's about, can he afford $1,000 extra a year? Probably a little bit more attainable than $5,000 a year. I don't know. That's a question for him. And I admire his gusto on it, but that's something the commission up here is going to have to discuss. That's just a suggestion, what I would suggest to keep him in his home. And because what I see happening is he's going to have to flip it for sale. He's not going to have any other option, and you're going to be out everything. And maybe there's a veterans group that can assist with the $1,500 or a little bit a year, to help out with that. But you're not going to get $5,000 a year more than likely from a group. I guess so. My suggestion would be to take it out 10 years.
Commissioner Sosa and then Commissioner King.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't see this property get refinanced. It's got a $41,000 deficit already. When you put the $26,000 lien, that's because he had sheds or unpermitted buildings, and then the 15 for the abatement. That's a $41,000 in the hole just to start. I myself, I think, spreading it out over 10 years would be more attainable. The city still recoups its funds, and the homeowner, to me, getting $1,500 a year is better than trying to come up with $5,000 a year. Because I know we're looking at a potential refinance, but I'm looking at the figures on the paper here without actually getting an official financial from the homeowner. I just don't see that financially possible. And I know we could probably do payments. We do it for the water department all the time, so we do have the staff to where we could take payments without even putting this on an ad valorem tax.
You good, Commissioner Sosa? Yes. Commissioner King?
Yeah, I don't either.
Let me just play the devil's advocate here just for a minute. Ron, how many times has the property been abated already?
7 times.
7 times. So 7 times the city has had to pay to have this property abated. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
So the property's been abated now, and it's clean, it looks good, everything's fine. No matter what you do here, there's a lifestyle that says that it won't be long before this is going to happen again, and we're going to be back out there again having to abate the property again. That's going to be another charge, and then another charge. And over the next 10 years, we will do that 7 times. So it looks like a vicious circle to me. I really think we should think about that also. Are we just going to keep on adding cost? I mean, he'll be paying forever anyway at that rate. Without a lifestyle change where he's not collecting stuff and filling up his backyard, we're going to have the problem over and over and over again. We already know that. Okay.
There's no back and forth, please.
But I hear you. But I hear you anyway. And I think that's important. I'm glad I heard it, because that makes a difference. And you're right, there may be veterans organizations that can help. I may be able to reach out to the American Legion. They have a program, ma'am. The American Legion has a program called Project Vet Relief. And I think that probably he should apply to that program and see if they can't help get him out of this situation. I don't know that they can, but they've helped a lot of other people with issues. So I would suggest that you write that down. American Legion, Department of Florida, Project Vet Relief, and go online and see if they can't help you. I just think we need to try to figure out what we think is the best thing to do here. This lady says it's not going to happen again. But history shows different.
If you look at the historical record, it goes all the way back to 2008, and there's 7 abatements that the city's paid for every single time. I don't want an answer on this, but the accumulation of stuff on a property comes for 2 reasons. It's either a scrapping situation where people are picking up things from around the city, taking it apart, selling things for scrap, and leaving the excess or the shell of whatever there. We have plenty of those in the city. That's scrappers. And there's money to be made in scrapping. The other thing is an accumulation of stuff that just can't be removed. Like, people can't get rid of it. I don't know what the case is here, but there's a pattern that's gone on for 14 years. And the neighborhood has had to live with that pattern for 14 years. The neighbors have had to abut this property for a long time. So, commissioners, the decision here is The motion recommends $5,000 and $5,091 for a year for 3 years. You can either go by that, or you can modify that, which I've heard up here, but we need a motion, Commissioner Bradford and Commissioner Ramos.
You promise. I hereby recommend the city include $1,527.31 as a non-ad valorem tax levy for 179 Citation Avenue as part of the upcoming June 2022 tax roll certification, and add the same amount for 10 consecutive years after. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener errors and the like.
Second.
Properly moved by Commissioner Bradford, seconded by Vice Mayor Leo Vasquez.
Madam Mayor, before
Yes.
we vote, may I interject something to consider? We talked about a $3,500 threshold.
Exactly.
And we're not exactly sure if that's cumulative or if that's per tax roll or tax year. And that may be, something to consider along those lines. Just looking at the arithmetic, if it was protracted out for 4 years, we'd be at over $3,800, and we'd be within that threshold. Like I said, I don't have an answer to that question if the $1,500, over $1,500, if that would be enough or not.
There's a motion on the second on the floor. Commissioner Ramos, did you want to speak, or are we going to take a 5-minute recess and research this and try to find out?
If I could just real quickly,
Yes,
two
sir.
things, and one of the things was going to ask that in reference to whether or not, even if we approve this, is it going to be accepted? And then number two, I think Commissioner King, you make some valid points. We're talking about 14 years of pattern. We talk about 7 times. We talk about assistance has been offered and has been denied. And I think somehow this motion, or somehow in this motion, we should put some type of an asterisk there that if this was to happen again, I get it. It gets emotional up here. I get it. But let's be practical about this, because what if we go back to having to do this again? Then what's going to be the story? What is it that we're going to be deciding up here? I'm okay, and yes, you're right, Commissioner Bradford. That I respect the fact that he says I can do it. All right, that's that mindset. But at some point, there has to be some type of consequences if this comes back again. Because if not, then just remember, we're opening up a can of worms here for everything else. I'm okay with assisting and trying to see how we can spread it out if it's something doable. But at the same time, what happens if it comes back? Then what do we say? I respect the fact the young lady says it's not going to happen again, but we're talking about 14 years here. Things don't turn around that easily. It's only comments.
So I think we should probably take 5 minutes.
Yes.
But I think we need to look at, if we're talking about spreading it out over 10 years, are we talking about spreading out $15,000 over 10 years? Because that's not $1,000.
No, it's 1,500. Yeah, it's 1527.30.
Okay. So if we're talking about splitting the total over 10 years, that's not so bad, but I thought, all I heard down here at this end was 1,000.
No, it's 1,500.
Okay.
1,573.
All right. But I think there should be something in our motion that does say,
Specify.
if
I
this
can
happens
modify it.
again, that all the money will be due, or something has to happen.
Well, I
think
can
that's only right.
modify it that if it does happen again, then the remaining amount will be, the additional amount will be levied in the next year. I'll work on wording it over the 5-minute break.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Okay, commissioners, we are reconvening the meeting. Mr. Paradise, you were at the podium.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We did a little bit of research and found that the $1,500 is indeed the threshold, and if this was protracted out over 10 years, it would be over $1,500. Just some pictures here. Thanks to Rocco, kind of resurrected the photos. But in any event, also talking about...
Wait.
Excuse me. Ron, it doesn't look like this now, does it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, this is before.
Okay, so everybody understand?
Yeah, this is before.
It's abated now.
Yeah, it is abated.
We took it out.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Sorry.
And when did that abatement happen?
It was on September 8th and 9th.
Okay, thank you.
In any event, let's talk about, another abatement event. If there's another abatement event, what'll happen is the city will go out and abate, and we'll go through the process, and we'll end up right back here to request another non-ad valorem tax assessment levy from the city commission. So that would, give you all the opportunity to weigh in on that with regard to, another abatement event. But right now, the proposal on the table is for 10 years. That will result in a yearly payment of $1,527 and some change, if my arithmetic's right.
Correct. Madam Mayor, may I amend my motion, please? I hereby recommend the city to include the amount of $1,527.30 as an ad valorem for tax levy for 179 Citation Avenue as part of the upcoming June 2022 tax roll certification, and then add the same amount for 10 consecutive years. If the property has to be abated at any time, the property will be brought back to the commission. The remaining abatement with any additional cost will be levied at that time.
Vice Mayor, you had the second on that, I believe, correct?
Yes.
You going to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay. So, poor Joyce has to do this one again and rapidly write.
Joyce, I did write that down if you want it.
Look at, she's going to run. It's a sprint. It's a sprint to the dais to get there. Awesome, Commissioner Bradford. Thank you. Take it.
I just wrote down the end part. Okay.
We will reread the motion and vote.
Okay. Where am I at? I hereby recommend the city include $1,527.30 as a non-ad valorem tax levy for 179 Citation Avenue as part of the upcoming June 20, 2022 tax roll certification, and add the same amount for 10 consecutive years. If the property has to be abated at any time, the property will be brought back to the commission, and the remaining abatement and any additional costs will be levied. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Okay, good? Commissioner? Yes? Okay, may we vote, please? Oh, yes, sir. Go ahead.
This is going to be for 10 years. If he passes away in the next 10 years, does this decision pass on to his wife?
Yes. Whoever owns the property,
It does,
unless it's
right?
sold,
Whoever
right?
owns the property,
If it's joint tenancy with the right
Whoever
of
owns the
survivorship.
property, right?
Well,
no. I mean, they own it. Our understanding is they own it as husband and wife. So if he passes, then it's hers.
Okay.
But it stays.
You got
I think
cut
it's
off.
my voice. Somebody's cutting me off. So anyway, then it stays. If it's sold, again, because we're only doing it per year, the city would recoup what had happened previously.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, may we vote, please? And the motion passes 6-0. We'll now move to item B, another code violation, non-ad valorem tax roll assessment to address the city costs relating to nuisance abatement at 941 Shorecrest. Mr. Paradise. Yes.
Madam Mayor, members of the commission, Ron Paradise Community Services for the record. What we have here is another ad valorem tax roll assessment proposal for 941 Shorecrest Avenue. I'm not going to go over the nuances again of the non-ad valorem tax roll process. This is a homesteaded property located at 941 Shorecrest, and it is owned by Juan and Joseph Escoval since 2009. In that time, there have been 97 code compliance investigations resulting in 14 special magistrate cases associated with the property. The city has abated this property 15 times since 2009 to clean up debris at the property. In December of 2020, the city opened a series of cases, including a case regarding a significant accumulation of debris, structures without permits, and lack of property maintenance at the property. In April of 21, the special magistrate found the property in violation, and in late July of 21, a fine was imposed on the property. With all that being said, the property's accumulated almost $43,000 in liens. Some photos here of this property, assuming I can get this to work this time. You know, here's a view from the street, another view from the street. Here's what the backyard looks like. Posting notices, again, another view from the street. And we just go on. I think you all get the idea of what we're dealing with here at this property. The property is still, you know, in non-compliance for non-permanent structures and lack of property maintenance. In addition, this property, since the abatement that happened in November of 21, is ready to be abated again. In the interim, the owners have not reached out to the city with regard to this issue, and they did not file a written objection. Since the owners continue to be in violation and the city is ready to abate again, staff suggests the entire amount of $9,600 be placed on the tax roll for the property. I'd be happy to field any questions you all may have with regard to this site.
Commissioner Bradford?
Okay. Abated 14 times?
That is correct, yes. Actually, 15 times. 15
times. And do we have liens currently on the property?
In the total of almost $43,000.
So we have $43,000 in liens, and I have $96 in abatement. Can you take a lien and can you put it a part of an abatement?
I don't think we can retroactively do that.
Okay. Thank you. That's what I just wanted to see.
Okay, any other comments, commissioners? Go to the public. Any comments from the public on this?
No, Mayor.
Then we'll close this portion of the public comment. So we have a recommended motion. We need a motion and a, okay, hold on a minute. Commissioner Bradford.
I hereby recommend the city include the amount of $9,600 as a non-ad valorem tax levy for 941 Shorecrest Avenue as part of the upcoming June 20, 2022 tax roll certification. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of Scrivener errors and the like.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved by Commissioner Bradford, seconded by Vice Mayor Villa Vasquez. We've gone through public comment. No one else is lit up. May we vote, please?
Motion reads, I hereby recommend the
Sorry,
city
Joyce.
include the amount of $9,600 as a non-ad valorem tax levy for 941 Shorecrest Avenue as part of the upcoming June 20, 2022 tax roll certification. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
And the motion passes 6-0. We'll move on now to the public forum. Is anyone filled up to speak in the public forum?
Yes, Mayor. Beverly, and then Richard Bellick. And then Manny Rodriguez. Beverly, please.
Yep. Hi there. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to me this evening. I know that this ship has already sailed, but I wanted to talk about the use of Waste Pro in this city. I used Orlando Waste Management my whole time here. I built a new Burger King in 2019 and was never told about this Waste Pro coming in. I've had Waste Pro for exactly 1 month at both of my locations. I've been missed pickup 4 times. I understand from listening to you guys tonight, appearance is everything, you know, in the city. They were always, Orlando Waste was very good to me. I never had oil spills. I never had anything. I understand why you guys went to Waste Pro, to where you could hold one company accountable, but as business owners, we should be able to decide who we use. Let me give you an example. Orlando Waste Management was charging me $346 a month. I got 3 pickups a week. I got my doors opened and closed to my dumpsters. I got deodorizer placed in my dumpster because, as you guys know, in the summertime, the smell is horrendous in dumpsters. My first dealing with Waste Pro, when I was asking them what the price was going to be, the price was $465 for 3 pickups a week. I was having to pay them an extra $25 for the driver to open and close my gates. And when I asked about a deodorizer, there was a long pause and they thought I was crazy. I want to deodorize a dumpster? Like I said, I've been missed 4 times. Their solution to that problem, Waste Pro, was that I had my managers go out at 1 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to check to see if I'd been dumped. If I hadn't been dumped, I was to call them. So I'm doing their job. Then, when they missed me again, their solution was, I finally asked for a refund or some sort of credit. They said what they would do for me is they would give me a free dump if I ever needed an extra dump. Well, first of all, I pay for 3 times a week, so I don't have to have an extra dump. Both of our restaurants are $2 million a year restaurants. I need 3 dumps a week. I need a company that I can count on. And this company isn't it. I don't know what the reason was for bringing this, but in my mind, this was a monopoly because I have no choice. And there's no recall. I call these people, my first dealing with them was, you have no choice. This is it. So they were mean and nasty to me in the beginning. I did tell Waste Pro that I was going to be here tonight, and I will be here every meeting until we find out what we can do about this. I can't be the only business that's having this issue. I really can't. You know, this is going to cost me $1,700 more a year at both locations. You know, we're trying to keep our costs down. I know everything's going up right now except our paychecks, but, you know, this has just been ridiculous. I know that I wasn't very involved, and I should have probably been more involved, but I had no idea. And when I built my new restaurant, if somebody would have said, hey, you've got to go to this company, but nobody did. So I went with my Orlando Waste Management. I talked to my representative. They had no idea that this was going on. They said they were never contacted, or they would have certainly been here to put a bid in because they were a lot cheaper than what we went with. My dumpsters, I have pictures that I'll be happy to share with you of before and after, what my dumpsters looked like in March and what they look like today. and I have to pay now to have these cleaned up. So you want to know who the oil spill was? It was Waste Pro. I can tell you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Richard Bellick, please.
Good deal, Marcia. That was a good deal. I like that. I enjoyed that, really. Mr. King, Memorial Day, I was disappointed by the turnout, I'll tell you the truth. 93,000 people, I mean, that was, you know, I mean, to show such disrespect for the veterans, I mean, you know, I mean, it was just, what do the people think today? I mean, these guys, they put their cannolis up for us to keep us free, and they don't even show up, can't even go by and beep a horn. And second thing was the speech. He went back to the Civil War. So when he went back to the Civil War, I felt it was my duty to show Heidi Herzberg that I'm not a spare tire, and I recited the Emancipation Proclamation to her. She can't deny that. Good night.
You did.
That was a good deal today with that guy. I really liked that. That was good.
Thank you, sir.
Ladies.
Manny Rodriguez, please.
Manny Rodriguez, 1376, Azara. Commissioners, I am moved tonight by your actions. I really am. You have shown benevolence and you have shown empathy for the people that had fallen in bad times, which is needed. And I just want to say that I hope that you do the same for their neighbors and think the same way. Because in one case, I had lived with this for 14 years and another one for 15 abatements. And think about what those people have to go through looking at that mound of garbage next to them and around them. Because if it was me, I would be here raising all kinds of hell with you at every meeting. Right now, I have 2 properties in my neighborhood that look terrible. One is fixed. The other one, I call them to cut the grass because they're long. You could actually bring cows there to pasture. It's so great. But all I want to say to you, and I want to ask you, that when you think about those poor people that fall in bad times, think about the rest of us that have to put up with that crap and have to listen to it, and it brings our values down. I'm not heartless. I just have an investment, and I want you to help protect it. I don't want you to be an HOA, but I want you to do your job. You're not a bank, and you're not a social services agency either. So do what you were sworn to do. Enforce it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Close public comments, Mayor.
Thank you. Comments on consent? Any comments on consent? Nope.
Mayor.
Then we'll close the comments on consent. So we have consent agenda. We have one item. Item A is a request for approval of resolution number 2022-12, declaring certain property of the city as surplus and authorizing the sale for disposal of such property. Do we have any comments or, yes, Commissioner Sosa?
Yeah, Mr. Peters, with the items going to the auction, especially the vehicles, the pickup trucks, have we seen how much money we get for each vehicle? And to see if it's better to, if we purchase a new vehicle, use it as a trade-in, or is it better to send them to auction? How much money do we either gain or lose from either option?
Traditionally, local governments use the auction process to dispose of property. But I would certainly say in the car environment that we're in now, if it was possible to do trade-ins, we would. Most of the vehicles we buy are through the State Sheriff's Association contract. It does not have a provision for trade-in, but we could certainly look at, you know, if there's some options available in the free market to see if we can sell it that way. So I would commit to looking at alternative to just straight auction,
Okay.
if that's what the commission desires.
Yeah, I'm just curious how much we get for these vehicles at auction.
I would say that generally speaking, it's not the best.
Yeah.
But I also need to check with our purchasing department and make sure that we don't have a city policy that covers that.
Okay.
That may be part of the problem. If it is, we'll bring it back to the commission to reconsider.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, we need a motion on item A, the only item on consent, if anyone would like to do that. Yes, ma'am.
I'll make the motion. I move to adopt resolution number 2022-12, declaring certain property of the city as surplus and authorizing the sale or disposal of such property, and upon approval authorizes the necessary budget transfers to facilitate commission approval, and further authorize the city manager to sign any documents necessary to further commission approval of this item.
Properly moved by Vice Mayor Avila Vasquez, seconded by Commissioner King. May we vote, please?
The motion reads, I move to adopt resolution number 2022-12, declaring certain property of the city as surplus and authorizing the sale or disposal of such property, and upon approval, authorizes the necessary budget transfers to facilitate commission approval, and further authorize the city manager to sign any documents necessary to further commission approval of this item.
Motion passes 6-0. Next up, special reports and requests. Anybody, commissioners? Seeing none, city commission or city attorney comments?
No, ma'am.
City manager?
Yes, ma'am. A couple items here. I would like to address a couple of the comments that were made this evening. With regard to the Waste Pro complaint, we received a letter earlier, and I will be following up on that with Waste Pro to see if there are some alternatives. I need to remind the commission that that was part of an overall waste management contract. And it's my understanding, I wasn't here at the time, it was my understanding that in order to reduce the rates that our regular citizens pay for residential pickup, the city elected to give Waste Pro an exclusive on the commercial. I do not believe there's any way to address that until we redo the waste management contract, but I will be in contact with Waste Pro to see if there's some alternatives. On the second one, I made a note that he expressed concern about two properties, and we will follow up on them. But I would also like to say that, you know, tonight was a difficult meeting with regard to the two Avalon abatements, non-Avalon assessments. But I think what's important to realize is that these are two cases that have been going on for a long time. The city, with Ron's help and Richard Lovett's help, we have been trying to find ways to get better compliance and to reduce the impact on the city. And so that's part of the reason we brought these two items forward tonight, because as Mr. King noted, and the mayor noted, and Mr. Rodriguez noted, is the people that live around those properties have had to suffer for a number of years. And frankly, I'm disappointed that we, in prior administration, didn't come forward with a way of dealing with it, because I can assure you that when people start having non-Avalon assessments on their property, they're more likely to be in compliance, and we don't have to continue to abate the same property. The reality is, it's the residents of Deltona that are paying for those abatements until we get the money back. And that's not fair. Through the actions of a few people, the residents are having to subsidize the cleanup of individual properties. So, you know, I can assure you that we will probably be having more of these in the future. I hope the residents hear the message that, you know, we are not going to continue, that we're not going to allow properties to go in total disrepair anymore. And we're going to be aggressive about recouping the investment, in quotations, that the city putting into keeping the property clean. And so I just wanted to point out that, you know, with Ron's leadership in community development, we have made some real strides in the area of code compliance. Richard Lovett is doing a great job with that team. And, you know, I know I get a lot of complaints, but overall the city is looking better. You need to realize that we're making up for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of not taking care of the code compliance arena, but we are catching up very quickly, and I'm proud of the fact that you know, Deltona is looking better. We still got a ways to go, but that is our commitment to the commission and to the residents of Deltona.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Commissioner Ramos, let's start with you tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just real quickly, just want to talk about a little bit about what's with the free meals that's happening throughout 3 of our properties here. I mean, 3 locations here in Deltona, and that's the Boys and Girls over at Howard Saxon, and that started today as of June 6th to August 5th. We have the Deltona Regional Library and West Crowd. Those 2 locations will be extended to August 12th. It's for all ages under 18. Breakfast is 8:30 to 9:30, and lunch is 1 to 2. If I recall, when we did it the last time, no question asked, just showed up, and they'll give you a breakfast or a lunch. That saying, also want to talk about a little bit about our Parks and Rec. We just had our first adult league basketball championship. It was done for the first time. It had 11 teams and had a championship the other night, and it was great. Also, starting for our summer league, we have 200 kids in our summer league. That's not the impressive part or the sad part. We have over 40 kids on a waiting list that we can't service. And I only say that so that we can keep in mind of, and I know we've talked about our facilities, but if you take a trip to West Crowell and see how it's being used, please understand that there's something that we're going to have to, at some point, look at because there are programs being offered there, and our youth, our kids, our adults are using it, and we have to keep that in mind. Again, we have over 200 in the league with more than 50 on a waiting list. So that's all I have, and stay safe.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Bradford?
A couple things I want to address. Let's talk about the levies. I would like, personally, if we have to do an abatement, I don't want to wait for 14 abatements. I want to hit it. We did an abatement. They're paying for staff time. They're paying for staff time going back there. I think we need to, like you're saying, hit it. You know, when somebody takes the time and does, you know, I want to work with you and help you, you see our compassion. When somebody gives the I don't care, do it, that's when you're going to see us going, pay for it then. You know, but I would like to see them coming before we have staff doing 14 abatements. 14 abatements, 15 abatements is a lot of staff time that they can be being proactive instead of reactive. So I do agree, Mr. Peters, but, you know, sometimes I do tug at our hearts. And, you know, we just got to look at the situation. I'd rather get 1,500 a year than put a veteran out on the road. I did get a couple calls over the weekend. I know our sheriff's department was very busy with noise calls. It is my understanding we have a meter now to detect them. I had the same individual who contacts me all the time who has some very loud neighbors who she did say this time they basically said, I'm gonna go test it, and they tested it, but then they kind of blew her off and said, but it's a holiday. And she's like, but it happens every weekend. And I get it was a holiday, but they do have the meters now. And if you've got a continual, I like to see those meters used. Okay? She did not want me to bring her name up. That's why she didn't, because she doesn't want trouble with the neighbor. So I just said I would bring it up generally, and let's see if we can't get them to enforce those meters that we paid for. Let's go to Waste Pro. I'm gonna have to agree with Miss Beverly on this one. I switched over as a company myself. It's been very difficult because I have to have staff deal with it. I've had trash left. I had to have staff call them back out. They didn't like that I put cones on my yard so they couldn't drive on it. So the driver took my trash can and put it across the street. I'm sorry, across your alley, in your right-of-way. So staff had to call, and a manager came out and go, oh, wow, I don't understand why he's even driving on your yard. So I think it's something that they need to start being held accountable for. We were promised, I was on this dais when this happened, that our residents and businesses' rates were not going to be more than what they're paying now. The promise was we're going to keep them here. We're not going to jack them up. We're not going to do that. Now, and now that it's like official and everybody has to be turned over, it's actually worse than it was before. So now I see where trash is dropped, it's just left on the alley. I'll go pick it up because it's my trash, but I shouldn't have to go out there and pick it up. Now, I'm just a small business. I couldn't imagine a restaurant not having their dumpsters dumped properly and deodorized. I don't know. I've worked at restaurants, so they're bad. So I understand the deodorizer. I 100% thank you for wanting to take that extra effort. And I believe as well, you used to have it rinsed as well and cleaned, which they do not do either. So that's just going to bring rats and more odors to your restaurants. So the stinkier they get, the worse it's going to get. I don't know if this is something we can seriously address, but I think it's something we need to seriously address. You know, we were given a commitment that it's not going to cost our businesses more, and I'm telling you, it's costing about $125 to $150 more for our business. So I would like us to seriously take this into consideration and look at it. And with that said, all I can ask, you know, our parks are offering some great programs, but that still leaves a lot of kids on the street. And I ask everybody to please be cautious on our driving, watch out for our kids, and, you know, do what we can to help them through this summer. So that's all I got.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Sosa?
Okay. Waste Pro. 3.5 years ago, I stood right there complaining about this. This commission ignored every resident and the Small Business Alliance that came up and said, we do not want a monopoly. We believe in free enterprise. We are a business and we want our choice. To be honest with you, I would not be sitting here today if you guys hadn't voted to create a monopoly. That was the third straw that broke the camel's back. And now, I even brought up what the bills were that I was paying at my business and what it was going to go to on Waste Pros, and it was over a 25% increase. And to answer your question or your comment, Mr. Peters, it was to reduce the rates of the residents. Okay? It doesn't reduce the rates of the residents because all you did was you took it to the business, you made them have to jack up their rates. So who pays? The end user always pays. You guys created a monopoly, and you told me I was crazy and didn't know what I was talking about when I said you were creating a monopoly, and that kind of ticked me off. So to me, a monopoly is I've got 5 vendors serving me, and you tell me, no, I only go to one vendor. That is a monopoly. This, unfortunately, it's taken 3 years for the businesses now to get impacted when they see the final impact. I'll leave Waste Pro there, but Ms. Beverly, I'm sorry for the issues you're having. Hopefully the city manager can get with Waste Pro and get those corrected for you. Thank you. Next, I have a question for our attorney. I have a resident that has made several complaints to me about code enforcement that is bypassing his no trespassing signs. He stated he has 5 no trespassing signs on his private property, and code enforcement has gone past them to leave notices, whether they're violation notices or letters, it doesn't matter. What is the legality of code enforcement? Are they able to go past a no trespassing sign? Because I haven't found anything that says they can.
Commissioner Sosa, I would have to research that, and I will, and I'll get an answer back to you. I can't resist, though, on the Waste Pro, and Florida statute allows us, a government, to have residential waste and also pick up commercial, and it is not viewed in the state as a monopoly.
Okay. Well, just because the state says it's okay, just because it's right doesn't make it right. And
but that was what my advice was based on, if that's what the commission wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I will get you an answer on this other matter.
Okay. Well, as an attorney friend of mine said, just because it's legal doesn't make it right, and just because it's right doesn't make it legal. So I'll leave that there. Thank you.
You good, sir? Yes. Commissioner King?
Okay. First thing I'd like to say is thank you to all the people who did come out for Memorial Day ceremonies at Deltona Veterans Memorial Park. It was a good crowd. We were certainly hoping for more. I did see on Facebook several people said they didn't know anything about anything happening in the city. We were posting it everywhere we could find to post it. Other people were posting it. Mr. Peters posted it. There was a lot of posts out there. So if you didn't know anything at all about it, I'm very sorry you didn't. But there will be another Memorial Day ceremony next year on Memorial Day at Veterans Park. Hopefully, we may be able to change the time, make it a little bit earlier. That's what I'd like to see happen this time, but that didn't work out. Anyway, thank you for being there. We did dedicate a new, or I should say, revamped, remodeled War on Terror monument. It's really nice, and we're glad that it's there. Maybe in the next year, the Sons of the American Legion have committed to, and we've gotten approval from VSEP to put in a Four Chaplains Memorial monument there as well. So we'll be looking for some donations. Anybody wants to donate to that? And we'll be doing a raffle coming up soon to help support that effort. Let me just say that it is my opinion that we created a monopoly just a few weeks ago when we voted to allow only one soccer club to participate here in Deltona instead of giving people a choice. This is the land of the free, the home of the brave, where we have free enterprise and freedom of choice. But when the government limits people's choices, it turns out to be something other than a republic governed by democracy. So at some point, I hope that this commission, Mr. Peters and the staff, will go back and look at that again so that people in this city can have a choice. There was absolutely no intent to dissolve one soccer club. But what we did was we made it so that nobody else can come here, and that is absolutely wrong. So that's what I have to say on that. Mr. Peters, when you're talking to Waste Pro, would you please tell them that I'd like to have some sanitizer in my green can too? Because that thing stinks. I think I said the same thing, Commissioner Sosa. And by the way, when you point your finger at the commission that voted that way, please be reminded that I voted against that. Thank you.
You're good. Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to make a comment on the abatement. And I just want to make sure that people understand that the family that we helped, their abatement fee was not waived. We commissioners here all approve to extend their payment plan. So their fees were not waived. We just gave them another chance to start over again. Their property, from we are told, from code compliance, is clean. Everything has been done according to the policies and procedures. So this family just got another chance to go at it again. Their payments have been extended. And just want to say code enforcement is also done a great job working. I saw Richard, how he works so closely with the gentleman here at City Hall. So that means a lot. It shows that they care, and I want to thank code enforcement for that. Thank you.
Okay. Got everybody? I just want to say, Commissioner King, thank you very much.
Unless Commissioner McCool has a recorded statement.
No, we're good. We're good there. It's one per meeting. Just kidding. Thank you, Commissioner King, for your involvement for the Memorial Day celebration, and thank you to city staff, whoever provided the chairs and the tents and everything. It was very, very nice, and it was very well used because, you know, when you go to those events, a lot of times there are people there that have a hard time walking or standing, especially to your point in the heat. And it was a welcome relief for those people that came. And I want to thank whoever did that, city, your group. Who
They also provided the water.
Yes, yes. And it was really great. It was such, it was something that I was so happy to see. And I think that I saw it advertised. I agree, but I always think that we can do better in terms of getting things out, in terms of getting it on our city mailing list and all that. And so thank you. And thank everyone that participated and came out, and all of staff for doing that. And looking forward to an exciting few months in the heat of the summer. Please be safe. Watch yourselves on the road because school is out. And that's a good thing for the kids, but they're out. People are out. Please watch your speed. It's just crazy everywhere. Thank you very much, everyone. We are adjourned.